as of the time of recording, it is nearly 3:45. So I'm hoping that by the time I put this video out, it makes me look like an absolute mug, and we've gone and got a decent head coach in there. But given the way Sunderland's speeding along at the moment, and by speeding along I mean speed along with a snail, then I'm not very confident at the moment. Sorry guys that it's been ages since doing the videos. I've not really done many videos this summer. I want to do the 5 players I want Sunderland to let go and 5 players I want us to sign video, but quite frankly, I don't see any point in doing it until the head coach situation comes out, because only then can I feel like we can start to talk towards players incoming and outgoing. Because, you know, at the end of the day at Sunderland at the minute, the talk that's dominating things is the head coach. And it really, and to be honest, midway through, near the back end of June, it still shouldn't be this way. So yeah, I've tried to put off doing this video because I've wanted to repeatedly give the club the benefit of the doubt and see what they do. I said at the end of the Sheffield Wednesday game, at the end of the last season, that this was a regime-defining summer, and so far they're not doing a very good job of it, in my opinion. But let's just wait. But I just want to get my thoughts out about the regime, get my thoughts out about the head coach search, and see what you guys think. And as always, just be respectful in the comments. And there's people who disagree with me, and that's totally fair enough. But yeah, I've got a few things to say. So let's get straight into it. Since mid-February, when Michael Beale got sacked, which was a few days after our 2-1 defeat at Birmingham, Tony Mowbray does us a favour and he's no longer head coach. And very quickly, best wishes to Mogga, by the way. Hopefully he does get better. But since then, when it was appointed, Mike Dodds was going to be appointed till the end of the season as interim head coach. Sunderland have been without a head coach for, nearly 120 days now. I hate it when people keep saying stuff like that, but at the end of the day, they're not wrong. Like, we have been without a head coach since then. I don't class Dodge as a head coach because to me it's like an extended interim period which lasted a couple of months. But I think that enough's enough now. And I've been saying repeatedly that actually I would have been the latest I was willing to put up with not having a head coach through the door was when the Euros was happening, just before the Euros was to start. So that was the back end of last week. That's come and gone, and we still haven't had a head coach officially appointed. Now again, as I said at the start of the video, I'm hoping that this video is made to be looking somewhat irrelevant, although not totally, because there are concerns that are still valid, I think, even if when we do appoint someone. But hopefully they're going to make me look like a mug or something, because hopefully someone's appointed this evening. Again, at the time of recording, it's 3:45 in the afternoon. So, but the fact we've got to mid-June, in fact, so it's the 17th of June on the day of recording the video, and it's just not good enough. This is just not good enough. The fact this is drawn out this long is pathetic, in my opinion. And look, I understand the argument that we have to wait for the right guy, and I was of that argument. I still am of that argument to a degree. But there does come a limit with that. You still need to be able to get some. We mean it within reason. Like, you still want to be having someone in place. I mean, look at it this way: within the next week or two, players are going to be. I can't remember the exact date when they're meant to be coming back, but players will soon enough be coming back for pre-season here. Like, are we going to get a move on and actually get somebody appointed in through the door? It's just absolutely ridiculous how it's gone about, really, and the supporters deserve better than this. And I'm someone who's been a big defender of, well, maybe not so much KLD, but certainly with a lot of the other elements of the hierarchy. I have, particularly with Speakman, I have defended quite considerably and quite vocally on here, as you guys know, here on Fans React, whatever it is. But I'm running out of patience. I'm not going to lie. I am completely and utterly running out of patience with this lot, because last season they messed up so badly, and I've always stood by the opinion that for me, getting rid of Mowbray wasn't the problem. The problem was getting Michael Beale. And again, I've said this before, people need to stop confusing them as the same thing, because they're not. They're two separate incidents. I'm fairly confident in saying if you get a decent head coach, not Michael Beale, then we finish nowhere near 16th. We finish at least top half or top 10, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, they messed up last season, and this is like their last chance saloon for many supporters. Even ones who are probably willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, like I was, or ones who are on the fence are starting to swerve towards maybe changes does need to happen then this summer. So let's just go through the hierarchy in this regard, because guys, I know this is a ramble of a video, but it's just thoughts I needed to get off my chest here. Let's start with Christian Speakman, actually, because he's the one that obviously I have that I see getting quite a lot of the brunt of the criticism. Some of it warranted, and some of it overblown and should be directed above him, in my opinion. Christian Speakman. Now, apparently, one of the suggestions is that a reason why we're not attracting a head coach is, well, two things I've heard. A is the staffing, and by that we mean Dodds and Proctor on the coaching team for the first team, and B is Christian Speakman himself apparently isn't great to work with. So let's start with Speakman himself. Now, if Speakman really is that difficult to work with and is a problem, then to me that comes also not only does it maybe suggest that maybe Speakman's took us as far as he could. That's not my opinion as well. It's somewhat my opinion and somewhat isn't. Maybe he has took us as far as he could. And also then it pointed back to KLD, because if he's such a problem, why hasn't KLD got rid of him then? That's the thing that I don't see anywhere near enough Sunderland fans asking that question, in my opinion. Look, do I want Speakman to go? Yes and no. I think with Speakman, Speakman getting the criticism, I think he deserves a lot of it, because the last 12 months, okay, I don't think it's been quite as disastrous as some have made out to be, but the last 12 months in comparison to his previous 2.5 years has not been good enough in comparison. It hasn't been. I don't agree with the last 3 transfer windows, maybe last 2, but I think it's very revisionist to say January 2023 was a terrible window, because not getting a striker was poor, but Ekwa, for example, who, despite his performances of last season, is going to be coming into an asset we could sell, or come into a really good player, I think. And Joffrey or Joe Gelhardt played a big part in us getting to the playoffs. Yes, you can say by default because we had nobody else up front to play, but at the same time, it doesn't change the fact he positively contributed to us. So I don't think it's fair to view that window as a bad one. But the last 12 months certainly haven't been as good compared to previous standards that have been set. Now, but the biggest thing for me is the Michael Beale thing, where I would have been very surprised if Christian Speakman didn't have a heavy hand in selecting Michael Beale. At least I've heard that's what happened. And if that's the case, then yeah, he deserves massive criticism for it. Speakman getting criticism isn't my problem from Sunderland fans. That is not my problem, because he deserves some of it, and he should rightly be held to account for certain mistakes he's made. My problem is when he exclusively seems to get it. That's what I have an issue with. And I think for me, it's like, even the recruitment thing, it's like Stuart Harvey apparently deserves praise when the recruitment's been good. Oh, but when it's bad, Stuart Harvey deserves not to get mentioned. No, that's not how it works. You have to mention him both good and bad then. Right, Speakman, I do believe, has done much more good for this. Well, maybe not much more at this point. I do believe he has done more good for the club than what a lot of fans pretend or act like he has. But at the same time, I'm starting to come to the opinion that if he really is hindering the process of getting a new head coach, and again, a lot of this is based on ifs, but if he really is hindering the idea of getting a new head coach in and progressing us, then maybe it is time to move on. My gut instinct is that I think Speakman will leave after this summer window, similar to last year with Stuart Webber at Norwich City, where Stuart Webber was announced he was leaving. I think it was sometime last summer, but correct me someone in the comments below if I'm wrong on that. But he was announced he was leaving last summer, and then but that didn't happen until last November when he handed over to Ben Napper, who's now the sporting director at Norwich. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear an announcement soon enough that Speakman's going, and it's not going to happen until after this window's finished, and then by the time the January window comes along, we'll have somebody new in through the door in terms of being a sporting director. I think he deserves some of the criticism, but I don't think he deserves all of it. And I think a lot of it should be placed above him at the person who's actually the majority shareholder. The staffing situation, I actually don't have a problem with Dodds being retained on as part of the coaching staff. But if we're being honest here, if he's being kept on because Speakman really likes him and he's being kept on and he's being insisted to be kept on, then maybe the pair of them need to go then, because if that's going to hinder us constantly falling short of appointing head coaches worthy of the calibre of Sunderland, or who we should be able to attract, then you've got to be looking at changing it at the top. As for KLD, I've been pretty vocal that I've not been the biggest fan of his, and I think I'm getting quite sick of him being absolved of criticism by comparison to Speakman, because ultimately, if you look at someone like Martin Bain, who I actually thought was pretty stitched up by Ellis Short, if I'm being totally honest. Yes, was he hopeless? Absolutely, of course he was. He was really poor at his job. But I stand by the fact that the biggest problem that year was Ellis Short, and it all stems from the top. We said exactly the same. Like, look at it this way: when Jim Rodwell came in under Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven, I don't remember Jim Rodwell getting the amount of stick that Christian Speakman's getting. Now, is Speakman anywhere near as bad as Bain and Rodwell? Not a chance, in my opinion. Not even in the same calibre as them two. Does that mean that he should go? Possibly, still. But I feel like if we're going to make the argument that the ownership is where the buck should stop with Short and Donald, why aren't we saying this now? Why are we not saying it now when it comes to KLD? Because, being honest, another bit of rumours that I've heard is that KLD was more hands-on when we had a chance of getting him Will Still before he basically walked out on the club. Well, even though he hadn't joined us, but still. He was hands-on with that, but then apparently as soon as we're not getting Still, he's handed it back to Speakman. Now, I'm not being funny, but that's really, really poor if that's how he's done it, because for me, I've stood by that. I think KLD's too distant. I think he's too much of the Ella's short sort of route. Granted, to be fair to him, we are starting to see improvements off the pitch, and I can credit him for that. We are starting to move back towards where we should be. But at the same time, though, I just think that the longer you're distant and you're playing the distant game, eventually that will catch up with you. And I feel like, if I'm being honest, with KLD, if there was an opportunity, if there was a chance where he's selling the club, I wouldn't complain if he did. Do I particularly want to hound him out? No, not really. I don't. I would like to see how we end up getting on, but I'm indifferent towards him. I can't lie. I'm indifferent towards KLD because, you know, I stand by that. Until a year ago, I think Speakman and Harvey's work in the transfer market propped up KLD considerably and made him look better than he's been. Now again, off the pitch we are improving, but I just feel like an example, right, I'll give you an example of this. One of my biggest problems with KLD is, and I don't mind not splashing money for the sake of it, I completely get that. FFP's a thing, and look, Danny Roll, for example, for head coach was who I wanted, but we were never going to pay 5 million for him or 10 million including his staff. That's fair enough, I understand that. But look at Marty Cifuentes at QPR. There's been report, now this is from Alan Nixon, so again, take it with a pinch of salt, it might not be true here, but for the sake of argument, say it is. If that, apparently it's a 6-figure compensation fee with Marty Cifuentes at QPR. Now, if Sunderland are not willing to pay that, then with all due respect, that's really not good enough. That is not good enough. We are Sunderland. With all due respect, we should be viewed as a step up from QPR. I know there are some QPR fans on social media that are getting a bit twitchy and a bit like, well, getting a bit arsehole-ish, dare I say, over Marty Cifuentes, and I get it why, to a degree, but at the same time, come on, if Sunderland's not a step up from QPR, then what is the point? And QPR, again, they're not a tiny club, of course they're not, but let's be real, Sunderland are a step up from them, or we should be viewed that way. So, if we're not willing, and if we're not going for him just because we're not willing to pay a 6-figure compensation, that's so tin pot. That's so small time. That's just not good enough. If you want him and it's a 6-figure compensation fee, then go and get him. Act like we're Sunderland, for goodness sake. Stuff like that. So I get not splashing money left, right and centre. That's totally fine. But in certain situations, when you can push the boat out that little bit more that will make a difference, we seem reluctant to do it for some reason. Sorry guys, this has gone on for 12 minutes, but long story short, I think Sunderland need to really wake up and get their act together here, because the longer this goes on, the more apathetic it's going to get and the more toxic it's going to get. And the problem is, this head coach thing impacts things down the line, such as Chris Rigg committing to a new deal, such as Dan Neil committing to a new deal. Jack Clark, I think, will probably be gone anyway, but, you know, if we still haven't had a head coach by the time the players come back for pre-season, what on earth are we doing? What are we doing? Look, I'm hoping that I'm wrong here. I really do hope that I'm wrong and we've got somebody lined up and ready to be announced within this week. But the fact of the matter is, even if we do get someone decent, a lot of people still won't be happy with how long this has taken. And I don't blame them for that. I really, really don't blame them for that. Look, guys, I'm going to leave you there because I've rambled on enough. And so, yeah, this was a video just talking about the state of play. But let me know in the comments respectfully what you think. What do you think of the situation? Should Speakman go? Should KLD go? Do we need a clear out when all this, that and the other? Because I don't think the squad we've got is as bad as some of our fans say it is. I think it needs a bit. The areas we need work in are big ones, but in terms of quantity, depending on who you keep, obviously, I don't think you need all that much. I think if we have a good window and get a good head coach, I stand by it. We should be pushing for top 6 at minimum next season, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, guys, look, if you made it to this point in the video, thanks very much for watching. Trying to get me sub count up to get to 6k, so, you know, if you're watching and you're not a regular subscriber and you think I've earned it from you, then please like the video and share it around if you want to. That would really mean a lot to me. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, and let's see if we can have a head coach soon enough. My birthday is the 25th of June, a week tomorrow. Let's see if we've got someone in place by then. But knowing Sunderland, wouldn't count any chickens. See you all later, you lovely lot. Stay safe and take care.